talking with Henry Mancini, one of the world's top film composers, whose latest film is Revenge of the Pink Panther. I'll ask you, Henry, what I ask Blake Edwards. Are you pleased with the way the film has turned out?
Oh, yes.
And with your contribution to it?
Yes, I must say. I approach every Pink Panther film every new one as I would the first one. And there's always a lot of music. There's over an hour of music. There's going to be an album from the score. And there's always something unique about anything I do with Blake, in that there are set pieces. You know, like the Norwegian sailor that had a piece of music behind it that was quite unique. And the Hong Kong chase was another thing that was the Chinese flavored music. So every one of those is a new experience for me. I don't say I've done this before. Every new picture is, whether it be Pink Panther or whatever, is something you got to work on right then.
So you really don't look at it as anything less than a major involvement on your part?
Oh, no.
Each film is a...
Yeah, you have to, because like in films and on recordings, once you say it's a take and once it's in there, that people are going to be listening to that darn thing, and you never know who's listening and how critical they are, so you just have to do the best performance you can of the music you have.
Yeah.
And I always, if anything is wrong, I'll never say, well, they're not going to hear that. There'll be dialogue covering, or we can duck this and duck that. That's self-defeating.
Let me ask you a very general question. Did you hear in your mind, when you saw the character of the Pink Panther, what became the Pink Panther theme, or was it a process of elimination, something you worked on many times?
The Pink Panther theme had nothing to do with the Pink Panther. It was actually David Niven's theme. When I read the script, David was the Phantom. He was the, fellow that stole the jewels.
Yeah.
And that was written for him when I knew that there were a lot of scenes of those tippy-toe scenes that he had in the picture, mysterious. And I wrote the theme for that purpose in the script. And then I didn't know what the Pink Panther was. I didn't know what it looked like or anything like that. And finally, when they got the music came before I saw the Panther, as I'm saying. And we did the cartoons. I didn't know they were going to do the cartoons. That came as a surprise to me. But I used the theme, and it worked out fine.
In the 1930s, I guess it was established the major ways films are scored, which still holds true today. I know Max Steiner favored the leitmotif approach. He wrote a theme for just about everything. Alfred Newman favored the sort of mood approach, scoring in a film in its entirety, so to speak. How would you say you've been influenced in that way? When you see a character, do you like to compose a theme for him, or do you score the whole picture in a sort of mood sense?
We have the luxury of both choices if needed.
Yeah.
In a comedy such as this one, I like to get back and put a backdrop on it. I don't like to, if there's something funny on the screen, I like to just lay a canvas behind it. And as you might have noticed, there are very few scenes with cellars that have music. There have been. There are more now, but I found that when he's on, it's pretty strong up there.
Yeah.
Unless there's a reason to play music, I just stay out.
Yeah. That is probably, and put very simply, the toughest thing a composer faces is to simply know where to put the music.
That always is you can tilt a scene in one direction or another by just when that music enters or when it goes out. So, yeah, knowing when to shut up, I guess that's even in life that has its advantages.
What film composers, have been of biggest influence to you?
Oh, I think Victor Young, for one. I always liked his unabashed use, the way he used the melody.
Yes, yeah.
And I think many composers are afraid that the melody is revealing, or a melody might be a little syrupy or this or that, but that I think there's nothing at all wrong with a melodic approach to
Oh,
writing.
yeah.
If you get the right one, you know, the wrong melody in Days of Wine and Roses would have been bad. But
Sure.
I just happened to hit on the one that fit with the picture.
Yeah.
And worked all the way through.
Yeah. Oh, Victor Young, had he lived longer, he could have written so many more beautiful
Oh, yeah.
themes because he wrote himself to death, really.
Well,
I know
yes, he took everything. He never refused
Yeah.
the picture. He just went on, and as you say, he really was, he worked himself to death.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've heard you mention, you've talked about Alfred Newman before, and the thing that, I think the Navy is, the thing that has impressed me most about Newman was his incredible string work. Now, whether this was in the
Yeah.
writing or in his conducting, I've rarely heard strings sound quite that way.
Well, it's in the writing, but also in the recording, too.
Mm-hmm.
The 20th Century Fox studio was a very good studio for that kind of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Some studios make strings sound very brittle, but the Fox studio had a lot of wood,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it still has. It's not good for big brassy jazz things or anything like that, but for strings and for symphonic writing, it's quite good.
Yeah. What type of films do you enjoy scoring most? If given your choice, would you like to score comedies? Would you like to score dramas or what?
Well, I can't. I like to. If I had my druthers, as they say, I'd like to keep going in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Like right after this one, I have a picture called Nightwing,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very scary picture, very modern day picture shot on an Indian reservation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good change of pace.
A lot of composers talk about what they call, how to describe it, color. For example, a particular instrument can give you a particular
Yeah.
sound. Now, for example, a film like Nightwing,
Yeah.
it would seem to me that could go almost any way, either a big symphonic approach to frighten you
Yeah.
or something involving subtle nuances with instruments.
Well, unfortunately, I can't tell you about that one right now because I haven't seen it. It might go either way, but I never make up my mind about anything, especially the direction the score is going to go, until I see it, because they have other people involved, the director and producer have their say, and we just get together and decide what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. You have had a marvelous working relationship with Blake Edwards. You've done, well, how many films? 15?
I think about 15.
15 films with him. Is it important for a composer to be able to trust his producer or director and know that his music is not going to be slaughtered in the recording?
Well, yes, if it always helps, but unfortunately, with Blake and a few others excluded, sometimes when the music gets into the final stages of being put with the film, the composer has nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
He's done his job, and usually he's on to the next project, and they're doing something else. They can cut, they can take it out, they can do anything they like.
Seems like a terribly barbaric practice.
The table what?
It seems like a barbaric practice to the
Well,
composer.
yeah. Well, you can't feel thin-skinned about it. You can't let it get to you because it happens, and it's a fact of life and what we do. So we live with it.
Yeah. I know composers, the best film composers, it's said, think of themselves as members of a team.
Mm-hmm.
But surely there must be a desire often to, when you see a scene and you know that what you can write for it is going to be really powerful,
Yeah.
to exert your influence and say, I'm going to make a musical statement here because this scene is going to be powerful musically rather than dramatically. Is that ever a temptation?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's needed. Sometimes it really is needed. You know, I would say that Star Wars is the biggest proponent of that idea.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he just saw his opening and ran through, loud and hard. You know. So, but it works, you know, and that Johnny Williams wrote that, of course, and he's a master at that.
Yeah. Do you see any, because of Star Wars, maybe any dramatic change in film scoring? Any new directions?
No, I can't say. It just can go in any direction, you know. You might end up doing Nightwing with 5 men. I don't know. It's hard to say, you know.
Because there for a while, in the late 60s, I guess, every film seemingly had some kind of rock score to it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting away from that.
Well, I'm glad it's being channeled into the area that it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Like Saturday Night Fever, or Grease, or whatever, or these new pictures, Thank God It's Friday. But then it really, when it makes a point like that, you can't beat it.
That's right.
You can't beat it.
But because music can play such an important part in films.
Yeah.
And your music certainly has, and I want to thank you for taking this time to come to Atlanta and see us.
Oh, I'm always in Atlanta every once in a while.
Great.
Yes.
We'll have you on the
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you.